Hey, hey, what's going on, you guys? It's going on, Niner family. I got Twin with me today, and this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Once again, it is me, Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and I got with me today Twin, and I think you all know him on Twitter. You've seen him on Twitter, seen him, heard him in the spaces. But hey, Twin, I am so happy to have you on today. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on the socials and let them know where they can find your content?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, man? Good evening to everybody, man. It's your boy Twin. You can find me at Twitter at Twin Maker, and also my YouTube channel, Twin Empire ×2 because I'm the one that make twos. You know what I'm saying? So it's self-explanatory in the name. I love the Niners. I appreciate Peter for having me on. Unfortunately, it's after a L. On this wonderful Monday, but it's all good. We still have opportunity to sit back, enjoy, and talk about our favorite team as fanatics of the 49ers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's really, it was kind of watching that game yesterday. It was just disappointment after disappointment, really. Like, it was one of those games where you kind of just you're watching and it just seems like you just can't get right. And it's where just anything that the 49ers did, it just seemed to not go the way that it should have gone, from drops to penalties to turnovers to even on the defensive side, they just weren't as stout as normal. But yeah, it's crazy. I wasn't so much disheartened by the loss because I know it was mostly execution issues. But so, what did you see as the main reason for this loss, and what can be done, going forward to fix it?
So previously before the game, I gave my keys to the victory on Sunday, and one of my things was this: turnovers, the turnover battles. As I was looking over the league leaders and turnover differential, the Eagles were number one with 11. Right, we all know at the time. I think they were 5-0 at the time, and we was only +1 in that department. And I was like, ooh, we have a low margin for error, but our defense is like a top level defense. And so I was looking over the stats and I saw that, man, they run the ball really well. I think they average 168 yards rushing per game coming into that. And as we know, our defensive line was in shambles. And so one thing I knew was like, man, if our turnover ratio is off, our margin for error is so tiny that this could be a very, very big issue. And as we saw, they pounded the ball down our throats. And I thought that was like the number one reason why we got into a lot of issues, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, you're spot on. Like, I mean, it was just they did to us what we normally do to other teams. And it's crazy because I named this show that the 49ers need to find their identity. I see their identity. It seems every season this team kind of loses their identity, and then they find it like almost halfway through the season, and then they go on a run. But I hate. I wish that we got such good players on this team that I wish that for once Kyle would just establish his identity and just go with it and make people beat your identity.
Question,
And yes, you might lose some games.
Got a question. Do you think we have one identity, and one of our issues is that we might not have multiple ways to do certain things because we only do have one true identity, which is what we know, like running the ball, time of possession, and low turnovers?
I mean, that's a great question, but I would say that this team has, and you're right, like they probably should have multiple ways to beat other teams, but I think for the quarterback that we have currently, we have to trust in the way that wins with him, and like which is they need to run the ball. I don't care how you do it, but you cannot have Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball 41 times and and our running backs only getting the ball, like I think they only got the ball 14 times.
Yeah, it was like 16 rushes or something like
Yeah,
that, 50
it's
yards.
that's not a recipe for success with this team. Now, other teams like the Bills, they could get away with throwing the ball 63 times and
Yeah,
pull out a victory. That is not our team. And the 49ers, but it almost makes it worse because of Kyle's propensity to like only trust in certain pieces on the team. And so we got these running backs. We got Jeff Wilson and we've got Tevin Coleman that just got back on the team. But because he's been with Kyle in his system, he trusts them more than a
yeah.
TDP and a Jordan Mason. I think that is the main issue. I think that Kyle just is so slow to trust that it's not about your trust. Just get the talent in there. Let the chips fall where they may. You brought these guys in. You brought them in because you thought they have talent, and that's where I go with the game yesterday. Is I feel like Kyle doesn't use his talent in the right manner all the time. I don't know how you felt about it.
Well, to kind of add on to what you were saying, so the talent that we do have, like you're talking about, we could have a Jordan Mason or a TDP who are talented backs that not necessarily getting the opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know we are a run first offense, but the talent on the outside, for most people would say, supersedes the talent in the backfield. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we know who are our like Debo, we know Ayuk, we know Kittle, we know even Juice come out of the backfield not only as a blocker but as a catcher. It's like, wow, that's a lot of talent. But we kind of pigeonhole ourselves into saying this is what we have to deal with, is this, is the running game. And then you look on the outside, I was like, man, can we look at these other guys and say, let's use them in a more, and even though we do have, maybe Jimmy, and I'm trying to give Jimmy all the props in the world, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Maybe if he's able to get the confidence of the coordinator and the team itself to get confident, because I think I heard Jimmy and another player say, we didn't play our style. And I think they're definitely gung-ho on saying we will only win because we've seen in the past, this is how we win. So I don't even think they even feel as confident switching it up and doing something different, And so I think over time, I would have thought Kyle would have built upon that first foundation, which is running the ball, and then begin to build more of an expansive passing. Not saying you got to pass the ball 50 times a game, but a passing attack that you feel more consistent with, knowing that, all right, are you going to get his 8 targets? I know that Kittle is going to get his 7 to 8 targets. I know that Debo may get 10 to 12 touches, but I know this is going to be a consistent thing. This is not going to be a one game, a one offer. You know what I'm saying? Because we do see that with our outside talent where they may have one big week and there'll be 3 or 4 weeks and they don't necessarily get involved in the ball game. And we know that these guys are extremely more impactful than the guys in the backfield, in our opinion, as far as the potential that they do have. So that's why I meant like earlier about saying that, hey, Kyle, you might want to expand. It may be, it may go against your philosophy a little bit, but I think you have the talent to kind of help you feel even more confident with the pieces that you do have.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is the thing though. It's kind of a running joke and I don't know if you play fantasy football, but I've got multiple teams but it's a running joke in fantasy. You don't ever pick a 49er in fantasy. Why? Why would you do that? Because you don't know who's going to get the ball from week to week, because Kyle thinks that he can outsmart everybody and thinks that, oh, well, when you think I'm going to zig, I'm going to zag over here and I'm going to start getting the ball to Charlie Warner. And it's just that's where the frustration comes from the fans, is that you got all these weapons. You get all excited in the offseason for all these weapons and we're going to air it out. And then we're running the ball with Jeff Wilson and Tevin Coleman, like Charlie Warner's getting passes. Ray McLeod is is having balls bounce off his hands. It's just
need some stick.
it's just not what we thought we were gonna see. And granted, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't supposed to be the starting quarterback this season.
Yeah.
Like, so that's a part of it too. But at the same time, and I gotta give Jimmy his kudos because he came out of his shell so far this season. He's done things this season that we have been begging him to try, and he really was kind of he just never did it. Like throwing the ball long, he threw it long a bunch of times in the last game, and I give him kudos just for trying it. And there was a couple of times where he hit guys right in the hands, and they just missed it. So yeah, I was like, womp womp womp. Like it was, but it's. Why do you think this offense as a whole is so bad? Is it Jimmy? Because I know the fan base would say it's Jimmy. Is it Kyle? Is it weapons? Or is it all three of them as a cohesive unit and they just don't have that cohesiveness? What do you think?
I think it's probably a mixture of all three, in my opinion. I know Jimmy's the quarterback, so it's kind of, I mean, to me, that's low-hanging fruit at this point. We kind of know what he is. But eventually I have to look at Kyle Shanahan and say, hey, my guy, you have a nitrous pack on your X and your Y. You know what I'm saying? Like with Debo, with Ayuk, with Kittle, like, and I think you barely even try to use it. So it's like someone who's never been a driver before and they hit that nitrous button. If you only hit it once every 2 months, you're going to feel kind of weird driving it and you could cause an accident. But if your coach gives you the confidence, say, we're going to hit this thing once a week, you begin to build confidence. And that's what I'm saying with Jimmy. Absolutely. All right, he's throwing the ball more. He may not be hitting the targets or the receivers may be dropping the ball, but the more you do anything, the more confidence you get. What is practice? Practice is nothing but understanding. So the more you begin to expand your QB vision, as I like to say, playing Madden back in the day, the more comfortable you get seeing things and throwing it and trusting your eyes. And then your wide receivers will know, because I think like what's my guy who missed the ball? Ray McLeod, you know, he's like, this may be the only ball I get for the next month. That's pressure. You see what I'm saying? It's not like, you know, if he drop it, he go get it again in the next series or 2 series from that. And I think a lot of players feel that way, you know. And so you instill confidence in your players as a head coach, letting them know that you're going to get opportunities, that you're not going to hit the bench, you know, if you make one mistake, and that I'm going to give you another chance sooner than later.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, that is an interesting take that I don't think that we've heard much. There was a lot of panicking going on today, and but yeah, I could see where that would be, and I think that we all kind of think of that in certain aspects, but that's why we ask, why are you dialing up plays for Ray McLeod? Like when we're expecting the Debos and the Ayuks to get the ball. Yeah. And granted, those guys have got to be involved for the offense to be dynamic. Your third and fourth guys got to be able to make a play from time to time. And that, because those other guys are going to go down at some point. I mean, the 49ers know everything there is to know about injuries. And so eventually these guys are going to have to become focal points at some point. And they've got, like you said, they've got to have the confidence to be able to go in there and just next man up. And that's where we just kind of, I feel like we have a great culture on this team, but that is a part, the execution and the hierarchy of who's getting the ball, what the offense is where we're kind of what we're missing. Question. And go for it.
I think it may be too casual though. And I know this sounds bad, but I know we don't like the word diva or people who seem like they want the spotlight on them. Yeah. But at a time, that's kind of good to have a player to say, hey, man, because the Ray McLeod play, right? Deep bomb, which is cool. But we don't even really see that often for Debo and even Ayuk as well. So even though we thought it was a great pass, we was like, man, I wish Ray would have caught it. It would have been lovely if it was Debo or Ayuk. But as fans, we know we rarely see that. You know what I mean? Yeah. For even our two big boys, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, man, get those guys even more involved, meaning that even if the third player get in there, he knows like, hey, even if I miss this ball, Debo may get another opportunity, or it may clear out an opportunity for Brandon Ayuk on the, on the deep cross or something of that nature, because they know I would throw it to Ray and things of that nature. So I think, not trying to say that we have to run the ball like 45 times and then just like pass it 45 times and not be even. It's like, no, bro. I think we have the skilled players to do it. And Kyle, you just gotta trust and not be so micromanaging, if that's the word. It's like, I gotta say, I want to be able to tell people that I have great players, and I'm going to fit my scheme around the great players that I have, not my scheme, and tell my players just to force feed themselves inside my scheme.
Yeah, no, hey, you preaching to the choir, bro. Like, yeah, we've been saying that for a minute. It's just Kyle. I feel like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. He just kind of thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He goes with his guys, and it's just, he very rarely like kind of just ventures out of what he does. And once the game script is in place, it's like he doesn't want to go outside that game script. And like the adjustments just, I feel like, aren't there. And while other teams kind of key on, they see they got a rookie corner on one side and they just go after him again and again and again. Like Kyle's not going to do that. Kyle runs his system, and it is what it is.
Did you know, like, you probably know that the Atlanta secondary was 24th coming in there.
Yes.
Coming in, it was 24th. Giving up 278 yards per game, right?
Yeah.
We only averaged 200 yards per game passing. And then they had 3 of their DBs in that same game get hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm saying what you said. I'm looking at that first half, and you saw Brandon Ayuk cooking. But then in the second half, he kind of disappeared. It's like, that's one of the games, Brandon, you got to get 16 targets. I know that sounds bad.
No, it doesn't.
If it ain't broke and he cooking, we used to say, I'm from the South. So if y'all listening, I'm country, I'm from Mississippi. When we say when that baby is whining, you feed the baby. If you feed it a gallon of milk and it's still whining, guess what you do? You feed it some more. You know what I'm saying? You burp it, and then after this burp, you make sure it go to sleep. But like when you on hot, when you on fire, you keep stroking that thing. So that's what I was looking at too as well. It's like, bro, that them cornerbacks ain't really that hot out there. So keep attacking them. Don't get don't get discouraged if you miss a deep pass or two. Keep putting that pressure on them.
Exactly. And that's what any team would do, except for the 49ers. They just will. But the thing is we went away from our identity also. Not only did we not go after those guys, we went away from our identity as a running team. And Jeff Wilson only got 7 carries. And granted, we were behind 2 touchdowns at early on. But then they got those touchdowns like right back, and we still went away from the running game. Identity, and I think Kyle needs to decide, if you're not going to have this identity and you've got these weapons and you're going to, if you want to do that, that's fine, but there's got to be a flow. I think that's what we're missing, is that guys can't even get in rhythm. They can't even get in rhythm because, like you said, Kittle's getting the ball. He gets four targets right in the beginning of the game, and then he doesn't see another target until the third quarter.
What did you hit it?
I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I mean, if anybody that played sports knows that once you get into a groove, that's when you just keep going. It's called a heat check.
Exactly.
And we just gonna keep throwing them up, chucking them up until we miss. So you just gotta do it. And
and just to say,
go ahead
quickly before you move on, and this is one of my things. I don't know, it might be tying on to your next question or whatnot, but so if we do have these type of players that if they were on fire and you don't feel like we're getting enough opportunities, my thing to Kyle is this, my guy, what do you have against speeding up the tempo? Running a little no huddle, running a little hurry up. I'm saying you just hurry up, get to the line, take your time, but just the look in the second quarter, in the third quarter, not waiting. Well, this fourth quarter, he didn't even wait to do it even then. But just like when you see your offense is sputtering, I think you have the outside talent in the players with the ability to kind of win one-on-ones, like you said earlier, with our youth, with the Debo, with the Kittle, to say, hey, hurry up. I'm gonna see, okay, they in the two, they in man to man, they in the zone, the robber is down, or the robber, like what they're doing. Okay, BA, I'm looking at you. Let's go.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, why don't we do that to kind of help our offense? Because we've had a stagnant offense for a long time now. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's just my 2 cents on that situation there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I feel you. And it's it's just it's just frustrating. Like, I mean, you brought up another point about the time management. The time management was terrible, but we very frequently with this team, it wasn't just this game, very frequently with this team, we don't go for like 2-minute drills. Very rarely. Like we just don't. We just run out the clock and try to go to the half.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do, because it could be one of two things. It could either be that Kyle doesn't trust Jimmy, which I don't care if you, and this is the thing, we use trust a lot with Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't care if you trust him. You just got to run the play. Just run the play. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
So you 7 years. Well, we 7 years in now, 5 years. Come on, my guy.
Yeah, I'm saying it's just, if he doesn't, you've just got to run the play. If he doesn't make it, then okay, he didn't make it. But I'm going to scheme these guys. If I'm Kyle, this is my thing. If I'm Kyle and I'm able to scheme guys wide open all the time, like I'm just going to scheme these guys open. You're going to run these plays to try and get these first downs. If it doesn't, it's on you. It's not going to be on me.
Yeah.
And I know that kind of goes against the whole team aspect of football, but the reality is that's where you're at right now, because what you're doing isn't working. So you need to show that, hey, you need to prove to us why, and prove to us is probably a bad word, but but you need to prove why it is that you are the head coach, why you are this offensive genius supposed to be, and and then leave it out there for there to be no doubt as to why you are who you are. And your guys just got to come with you. They just got to come with you. That's leading to me.
And I don't think proven is the bad word. Proven is this: you have a group of men, 53 men, who are looking unto you as their leader, you know? And so to show them that you believe in them, prove it to yourself and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with saying that I must adjust, or there's nothing wrong with saying that I have to add some things to my arsenal. No one would be mad at you, Kyle, for saying that, hey, the running game is the running game, but it's okay to be just as efficient or proficient in the passing game. I watch basketball a lot of times. Everybody, like, I'm a Warrior fan, just so y'all know out there. So everybody say the Warriors can shoot threes. Okay, but they're one of the most proficient two-pointer teams there is, though. Yeah. Like, we know them for shooting threes, but they shoot just as high in the 2-point area, in the mid-range as well. So that means that in all three phases, you are dangerous. Even though you do one that's extremely well, which could be our 49ers running the ball, you still feel comfortable to have these other keys as well to be just as confident in as well. So, like, that's what I'd be thinking. Like, Kyle, come on, my guy. You're a genius, so they say. Prove it to yourself and us that you have the ability to adjust and be multidimensional in other areas and be as confident in the other areas as well. You know, don't let your confidence drop because you want to start passing. Be just as confident in those passing plays as you are in these schemed up running plays as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And now that you just talked about the running game, we're going to get into the running game, which is, and what is wrong with this running game? Because the offensive line, in my estimation, has played pretty well. From what I've seen, way better than what we expected. Yeah, because everybody was expecting this interior offensive line to be trash, and it is not trash. They're doing. I think that they're doing better than we've seen in a long time in pass protection, especially. But even in the running game, Wilson is getting gaping holes to run through. Yeah. Like in a lot of the time. Now, granted, this game he was just running into walls, but Kyle was calling just runs up the middle. There was nothing really
creative.
Nothing creative, no motion, no nothing. Like it was a really vanilla run scheme for this game. And I know that I saw Grant asked him the question about it, and he kind of just blew it off like, well, it was the game script and like we got down, so we were. That doesn't explain to us why why you were running the ball the way you were running the ball.
Yeah.
And a lot, Kyle does that a lot. He just doesn't like to answer the question, and it comes back to ego. Like it comes back to ego. But what do you think is wrong with this run game? Why does Kyle refuse to not use anybody outside of his trust circle?
I think you said it earlier, like just a couple seconds ago. His ego, man. I think again, like the ability to come in there and give misdirections or just different looks with different running backs, it helps sometimes. Even a different burst of speed or the quickness that a TDP may have, or even a Mason may have. And dude, you have I know his playbook is wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Like he has a wonderful amount of plays. You tell me there's not 5 plays that you got that Mason can go out there and run confidently. Tell me there's not 5 plays that TDP can go out there and run confidently. You tell me just running him TDP as a fullback for 1 play and that's it is enough. You tell me the burst and the speed that these 2 young legs have, because let's be honest, in running back terms or like running back lifespan, hey, my boy got some old legs, you know what I'm saying? So I hope we're not depending on him to go the full 17 weeks, because we know in the 49ers offense through history has shown us that doesn't happen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Allow some other guys to go in there and eat and feel comfortable with eating. You know, a spell back, as they used to say back in the day. If what my guy name Wilson gets 15 carries, cool. Let the other young bloods get 6 carries apiece.
Yeah,
that's the look of it.
Just a change of pace.
Yeah. And so that's one of my thing is, I'm sorry, is that I don't think Kyle trusts the younger guys to go out there and play. He's too rigid at times. And like we've seen other people get in the doghouse, and I believe that's probably what's happening with the the 3rd round picks as well with TDP and even Danny Gray. I think they're like kind of in the doghouse. And I think that his offensive scheme is becoming predictable to the defense as well. So even though he's scheming a particular run pattern, the defense is looking like, okay, there's only so much they can do right now. And so I think the defense know how to key in and say, we're going to stop this run, or we're going to blow up this gap here, or we're going to cut off this edge here and just attack in that manner. And so that's what I think teams have eventually have cotton on to what Kyle does. And we see that with Debo as well. When he's trying to run the backfield, teams are kind of keying on him, and he has to literally break 3 to 4, maybe 5 tackles just to get some cracking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. But that's part of it. Like with the guys that you drafted TDP, you drafted not Jordan. They didn't draft Jordan Mason, but they drafted Trey Sermon. And those are bigger backs that aren't necessarily known to be home run hitters. Like they don't necessarily, they're not the fastest guys. Like but you pick those guys. Like, so what are we doing? Right, like as you were just saying, running backs have a limited shelf life. And if you're just gonna run them into walls and inside zone, like it's like you said, like we said earlier, it's boring. Like it's not only is it boring, it's just, in my estimation, we know that you have the plays in the bucket. Mike McDaniel left the 49ers. I'm sure he didn't take the whole playbook with him. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's just I want to see some more of that motion and give these younger guys the guys with fresh legs. And like you said, everybody, it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole bunch of carries, but you saw last game against Carolina when Jeff Wilson got that change of pace back with Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman didn't get a whole bunch of yards. He didn't get a whole bunch of carries, but that gave Jeff Wilson enough fresh legs to bust out for 117 yards. Like, I mean, and then you go away from it in the next game, and it doesn't make
head scratch. That's what it is.
It just doesn't make any sense. But it comes back to Kyle. Like I still feel like it comes back to Kyle's ego and to Kyle thinking that, oh, I'm going to change the whole game. They think that we're going to do this now because it worked so well in the last game. But here we go. I'm going to do this change up right here, and they're only going to get 13 carries in this game, and we're just going to air it out with Jimmy. Like, I mean, your receivers aren't even used. They probably were tired by the end of the game. like just running a bunch of routes like that they weren't used to running. It's just I think it's just frustrating for all of us because it goes right back. Yeah,
we conditioned to block 40 times.
yeah, exactly. I'm saying like they're like, I thought I was
good.
good. I know that that Jennings was probably like, man, I thought I was gonna block this whole game.
Did you see BA?
Yes.
BA he even had a cramp, and BA is in really good shape. And he was like, oh goodness, we actually running
Yeah.
something. Like, look, he ran that deep ball in the third. He like, oh God.
He said, I need where's my Pedialyte? Like I need to get this, I need to rub this cramp out. Like but it's
I need some milk.
But yeah, it's just you're asking these guys to do stuff that they're not used to doing. So there's no continuity, no consistency, and they don't get to become good at it. Yeah. Like you're expecting them to. This isn't Madden. Like you ain't trying out new plays every week. Like that's just not what people do in the National Football League. But
hey,
do you think?
Go ahead. I would love for them to not wait another 3 weeks for an offensive showing like this to happen, or to be even down 14 points to throw the ball 40 times a game. Yeah, I would love it if you guys are 0-0 or even up by 7 to give the guys confidence and still throw the ball 30, 35 times one game. Even allow Jimmy to make some mistakes. Because I tell people, this is my little philosophy. If you have a top 5 defense, that gives you the ability to say, even if my quarterback messes up, I got some boys over there who are willing to go out there and go to war, who can really turn the game over anyway. So it's like, it's not like your defense is sorry. You know what I mean? So that should give you more confidence as a play call to say, let me not be so far and in between, you know what I'm saying, and still allow these things to happen and create some type of some issues for the defense. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel about that as well.
Yeah. So do you think that TDP and Mason will TDP and Mason ever get the ball? What's the over under on them ever getting more than 5 carries?
Barring injury, I think we will continue to see, because we didn't see that much Tevin Coleman this week anyway. So next week, I believe he will play. Wilson's not hurt as well. So, and I also think, what's my guy name? Kyle Juszczyk will get some runs, and also you still got Debo. So, barring injury, man, maybe 4 to 5 carries, maybe 4 to 5. But that's a long shot. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the under if you ask me. You know what I'm saying?
Every time. Yeah. And that's the thing is like betting, fantasy, whatever. You just can't bet. You can't bet on the 49ers on what they're going to do, because every week is something different. And I think that's what, while it makes the team like kind of deadly in some ways, because they play up and down to their competition all the time. Atlanta, they play a team like Atlanta, they play down to their competition. They play a team that's bad, like Bears, like the Broncos. They play whoever they're playing, they play down to that level of competition every time. And very rarely do they go in to a team that they're just supposed to run off the field and they just destroy them. Very rarely. Yeah.
Do you believe that's a philosophy though? Like, I'm not gonna beat the brakes off you. I'm gonna play with you if that's what I need to do.
Yeah, just playing with your food.
You playing with your food, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing is so you get burnt when that happens. And now, granted, people are gonna say, "Oh, well, we got to the Super Bowl. Well, we got to the NFC Championship." Okay, but when you're used to doing it that way, when it comes time to do what you do, you don't know what you do. You don't know what you do. You don't know what's going to work in this situation, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen because you never have a consistent game plan. And Jordan Mason and TDP, I'm taking the under, because I just have no faith in Kyle's ability to gauge talent. And it's not even gauging talent. I think he knows that they're talented, but it's almost like he's that real hard-nosed dad. I know, because I'm one of them. No, I know that you're really smart and you're hey, but why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
Why aren't you, Like, but you're never good enough. And and until 2 or 3 years down the road, and now all of a sudden Ayuk's getting 7 or 8 touches. But he could have been getting those touches last year. And I think that's just my point. Is like guys got to run through the system. Kyle needs to understand he doesn't have that amount of time to work guys for years and get them in the system, get them acclimated to the system. He's got to get these guys just going. Huh?
I think you feel like he does though.
He might feel like he does.
Arrogance that he walks around with. It's like, hey man, I am an object that would not move out of Levi's stadium. Like I'm not going nowhere. So I could take my precious time with this. And like the fourth quarter, there's no urgency. And my thing is like, dude, this is the opportunity for you to like get accustomed to moving in chaos. Yep. And you seem to not want to take upon that chance. And so again, Kyle, get out of your own way, man. I think you have too much talent around you. Like there's no way that George Kittle should not be a double-digit touchdown like tight end. There's no way. There's no way. He's too skilled, too talented.
He was with CJ Beathard.
That was a blip on the radar. That was like an anomaly now. It seems so far ago. Like for real, it seems a long time ago.
It's just crazy. Like but I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. Honestly, we could sit here and talk all day about Kyle and his weirdness sometimes, but I want to get back on the rails. And why do you think that these drop, like other than we talked about continuity with the receivers and like just force a habit, like a habit getting a muscle memory with catching the ball, but like the drops. Yeah. Like what do you think is the real problem? Because it wasn't just the McLeods and the Werners dropping the ball. I mean, Kittle's had drops. Jennings has had drops. Even Ayuk missed that one last week. And Debo, I think he's got the most drops in the league. So why do they not get blamed more often when they drop the ball? We always blame Jimmy. I think the fan base always blames Jimmy for whatever happens bad on this offense. But why are guys not zeroing in on those wide receivers and tight ends?
I think they believe that if I'm being honest, it's like a really high stress situation. I think I mentioned this earlier. It's not like these guys get hella opportunities. And so when they do get them, I think they truly are in their mind, because dropping the ball is more psychological. I was a wide receiver and a cornerback, and I played football, right? And so the more you get the ball, the more you feel comfortable with catching the ball. Yeah. No matter how talented you are, confidence is key in any sport. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Even the greatest shooters, the greatest passers, the greatest DN, it's all about belief in yourself. And so a lot of times I believe these drops are, man, it's really like the ball is literally really coming to me. And this is shocking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I must drop it. And even I told my brother the other day, I said, Kittle got that ball. And a lot of times on these fumbles, they think this is my opportunity to make a big play because I might not get the chance again. So now I'm trying to run through every defender and literally score a touchdown. Like, if he knew he probably was going to get the ball again in like 2 more plays, he wouldn't have that mentality. But I think a lot of guys' mentalities is like, this is my chance and I can't blow it, Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that's how the offense is as well when it comes to passing the ball. There's not a lot of confidence in saying that we can go out here and do it. So I think the wide receivers don't get the blame because first and foremost, Jimmy is going to be looked at as saying, hey, my guy, what kind of throw did Jimmy do? Like, was it a throw where it was high and they could have caught it, but just by the tips of their fingers? Or was it low to the ground and the momentum was carrying in one way and the ball was going another way? So that was a contribute to the way that they didn't catch the ball. So I think that's where Jimmy gets a lot of the blame. But then also, again, like I say, our guys have butterfingers at times as well. So I think it's all about just that repetition in game to know that if I'm going to get the ball thrown my way a consistent amount of time, my hands will become a lot more sure, and I will become more of a true possession wide receiver and to catch the ball.
For sure. For sure. So like I agree with you. Like but we have to look at the way that the 49ers usually run their game plan and their game script, and we have to look at how do they fix this. Does Kyle go away from what he normally does, and does he put in a game script that allows for those guys to build confidence like that? And I'm kind of iffy on that. Like and that's but how do you think that do you see this issue being fixed as the season goes along?
Honestly, I'm gonna put in a slight little adjustment to the offense I mentioned early. Cal, do a little hurry up from time to time.
Yeah. Man, I beg for that
so many times. Just do a little hurry up. I'm not telling you to add in go from your offensive plays being like short passes to vertical routes. I'm not telling you to air the ball out 15 times, 20 plus yards down the field. All I'm saying is, Cal, speed up a little bit. You know what I mean? And see how that just try it out. I hate the Patriots. I hate the Patriots. I hate them. I hate them with passion. But if you watch back in like 2005, 2006, the Patriots started doing in the first quarter a hurry up type style offense. Because they figured if they get the lead early on, it gives confidence to the offense, but then it also gives Bill Belichick, who's a defensive-minded coach, the ability to say, okay, I can cook. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And periodically, Tom Brady would do these little hurry-up offenses, and I'd be mad because I'm like, dog, other teams haven't caught on to this yet. Because, we're going back 15, 20 years where it was a lot more methodical as well. And so I'm looking now at Kyle Shanahan like, hey, man, if you know that Jimmy Garoppolo came from that tree, from Tom Brady, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let him pull from that. Let him get a little confidence when he first came into the league. This is what he saw done in front of him. And so extend to him that grace to say, hey, my guy, I'm going to give you this 3-4 times in the first half to go out there, run a little hurry up, wink, wink to George Kittle, wink, wink to George Kittle again, then wink, wink to Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And then we can still run the ball. We can still hurry up and run. You can be in shotgun, with the back beside you, do a little running back dive or something of that nature, but still just the pace of play exude confidence in your players. And then you telling your players, I trust y'all.
Yeah.
I trust y'all because you've been with me for 4 to 5 years now. Hey, go out there and get a couple of plays. Make a play. Make me look good for trusting you. You see what I'm saying? And I think that helps a lot.
That's a great point. That is an excellent point. And I think back, there was a time last year, I think it was in the Texans game, where the 49ers did with Trey, they did a hurry up off just for a few plays. And Trey started cooking. And it was just one of those things where it's not even so much like, it gives them confidence, of course, but also what that does to the defense, because it keeps that personnel on the field, and it doesn't give them a time to group and look at your personnel grouping and kind of come up with a real defense. They have to kind of go to a vanilla, almost like unless you give them enough time to to audible out of it. But it does, and with these types of playmakers that you have on the outside and the inside and the at the tight end position, it's just it would behoove you to go ahead and try and put these defenses in bad situations like that, to where they're having to think on the fly. That is a great point. That is a great point.
Real quick, check this out, my guy Pete. Our offensive scheme, where we've seen our running backs line up in the backfield, we've seen our backs line up in the slot, we've seen our tight ends go from in alignment as a tight end and go into the fullback position. We see him go from the fullback into a slot receiver. So if a particular personnel group is out there on your offense, you still have the ability to interchange so many of these pieces still. And run an offense, like you said, and catch the defense off guard.
Yep.
because these guys have been there for a long period of time. So it was like, dude, use some of those weird, quirky play calls that you do use. I remember, Jawan Jennings was like in a fullback position one time. Jawan Jennings lined up as tight ends once before. Like, he's done these things. So use that to kind of, okay, you finna run out the backfield, Jawan, and do, a flag route or whatever the case may be. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically speaking, allow your mind to say, hey, Jimmy, go out here and use what you've seen and make it happen, So just want to add that in there on there.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, and we've seen it from Kyle in the past, like him running the same plays out of multiple formations and it kind of throwing the defense off, like run, like, especially, man, they used to run some of those run plays that and just they'd run it one way and then they just change the formation and run the exact same play, except that time they would gash the defense because they thought it was something completely different. It's just that kind of stuff that we're just not seeing. We're not seeing it anymore. And it's frustrating, but I want to move away from the offense.
All right, let's go.
Because we could sit here and complain about the offense, but yeah, that was a great point about the hurry up. But so the defense, injuries are started there. We're on overload at this point on the defense. What do you think? What was the injury that was the tipping point for you in this last game?
Honestly, probably was Mooney. Mooney getting hurt, I think, really caused a domino effect because you open up another half of the field. And I was reading today that Hufanga was in concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And for a team like Atlanta that ran the ball so much and got to the second level so often, I was watching that game, was like, hey, all pro Huff, where you at, my guy? I don't know about you, but I really didn't see him throughout that game for real. And so I really thought either he was messed up, you know what I'm saying? It could be in the head a little bit, or he just wasn't feeling it. And I thought he could have had a wonderful impact on the game because they ran the ball 40 times, man.
Yeah.
So that there killed us. And I think just the depth as well, just with the defensive line. I mean, when you are on your third string D lineman and they gotta do, instead of having only 20 snaps, now you're doing 35, 40. I thought we just couldn't get no push for real. And those guys was running so hard, man. Fred Warner, I love you, my guy, but every time you made a tackle, you was going the other direction.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, bro. Like we got the locks, we lock brothers in this thing. I love you, my guy, but hey, you was not sticking nobody. They was hitting you and you was going to live. I'm like, ugh. So yeah.
It was also Mooney for me, Mooney Ward. I just think that with Emmanuel Mosley going down, and I think this is, and I spoke about this on Ryan's show this morning, that this is an underrated aspect of this defense, was that both of our corners, they depend on these corners to come up and run support. And and to all of a sudden not have both of them, it was already going to be bad enough because they didn't have Emmanuel Mosley. But then for Ward to go down, all of a sudden Huff can't be flying all over the place because he's got to be in his spot. Yeah, because now he's covering other things. He's going to have to help shade this guy and help shade that guy. He's not going to be able to play close to the line of scrimmage. So I feel like that's where Huff went, is that he got pulled out of what he would normally do. And then of course your point about Fred Warner, I agree with you. But I mean, I think we all know that Fred Warner's a little light in the ass. Like, I mean, he only 225 something
on
like
a good day.
Yeah, and we've always known that. That's why he's so good in coverage, is because he's got the athleticism and to be able to cover those tight ends and even sometimes wide receivers.
Yeah.
But when it comes to run stopping, he depends on that defensive line rotation to kind of plug up those gaps, and then he just come and then he or to take up those bodies, and then he just comes through those gaps to get that tackle for loss. Like you can't be letting them get to the second level, and now he's got to drag them down.
I feel sorry for
because
him, boy.
yeah, because he's just gonna have to. He to his credit, he was still dragging guys to the ground, but they're gonna get their yards, and that's gonna be like. But yeah, that's just not what Fred's built for, and so I didn't blame him too much. It is what it is. I think that not having that those corners there to help in run support, and which means Huff can't play close to the line of scrimmage, which means the defense was really playing complete. You saw them play a lot of off coverage.
Yeah.
Because they did not trust their corners to stay in front of those guys. Like, even though they don't have great receiver, they had Drake London, who's not a burner. They got Zacchaeus. He's got a little bit of speed to him.
Pete, they only threw the ball 14 times though.
Yeah, no, I feel you, but like at the same time, they didn't want to get beat deep. And I felt like that's why they weren't playing so close to the line. And
don't beat me down.
But I was surprised that we didn't see more blitzing. Because that was what I was expecting to see when they started running. Like that. I was expecting for them to start some zone blitzes to get to just get some guys in the backfield.
But we wasn't giving up large yardage though. I think they only averaged like 3.6 yards per carry or something like that. And so when I mean about Fred, it was like he'll stop him behind, like he'll hit behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Then they'll drag him for an extra 2 yards. And this happened, and it'll be like we'll get down 3rd and 2. And I seen Fred on one play. He hit that gap. And he
I know exactly which play you're talking about.
And I was like, oh no. And like the momentum, you could see it's kind of like the energy, the life was kind of getting sucked out of those guys.
But what quarter was that?
I think it was like around 3rd quarter, man.
Yeah, exactly. The 3rd quarter.
It was around that time. And it's like they didn't ran the ball 25 times, 30 times by then. And they were initiated, like you said earlier, they were playing our style. So now they popping you in the helmet. They hitting you and you falling back. And it's like, because even if they blitz, I think D'Amico was saying we're getting there, guys, but you're not wrapping up. A lot of our tackles is like you're there, but we're tackling bad and not very clean tackles. And so that kind of messed it up a lot for us as well. And so hopefully this game we'll have more fresh bodies who can hit harder at the point of attack and kind of get some things shifted in the other direction for us.
Yeah, and also that don't think that rotation of defensive linemen, when you get injuries, that many injuries to your defensive line, you got some good guys like Amenahu and Ebicom, and who was in and out of the game, and then you've got you got a couple of the other guys, Drake Jackson. It's not that they're not good players, but all of a sudden they're playing a lot more snaps.
Amenahu did good to me. He messed the edge up a couple times, but to me, he did all right.
Yeah, no, I think overall this defense, I mean, they gave up 21 points. I think without having Bosa out there, who's a dynamic player, without having Kinlaw and Eric Armstead and all those guys that would normally be getting a bulk of the snaps. But then all of a sudden now you've got Amenahu and Ebicom and those other guys, Kevin Givens and all those other guys getting the majority of the snaps. And now you got to get other guys that are might have just gotten there, like Spence, and you got those guys that are getting a lot of snaps. It's just a different type of rotation at that point. And that's what happened to our pass rush. I think we only got we got 2 sacks, and we've got I remember seeing that we only got 5 QB hurries or whatever the case was. Yeah, it wasn't a lot. So I just think that the injuries were, those corners going down really kind of hurt D'Amico's scheme, and we almost started looking like we did in the beginning of the year last year when he didn't really know who he was going to have at corner. And
For
Yep.
us to only give up 21 points, though, do you think that our offense could have? Do you think to only give up 21 points with the slew of injuries that you just mentioned, that we should have been saying, "Hey guys, we got y'all.
Oh, for sure.
We
For
we let
sure.
we could give you at least 24, 28 points. You know what I'm saying? Today we got y'all. We gonna hold y'all down. Y'all been holding us down throughout the entirety of the year. This one,
But that's what we've been saying all season.
oh, yeah.
Like is that we said this defense, I know that I've been saying on my show, this defense is not going to be able to do this all season long. They're not going to get a pick six every game. They're
Yes,
not going to get, they're not going to be able to hold teams to 10 points or 9 points every single game. Like it's not, because you're going to have injuries happen, and and eventually they're going to give up some points. So your offense is going to have to do something.
yeah,
And but we're still, and I think the week against Carolina kind of gave everybody a little bit of hope, but then we just
why?
went, we
Why
it gave
though?
them it gave them hope because the running game was working.
It's the
That's really what it
Panthers.
was. I get it, but people just, human beings just need hope sometimes. And like when they see something good on especially on tape, they're like, okay, see, we can do this. We can do this all the time.
Yeah,
And that's how people get. And that's how Twitter gets. Like
yeah,
the very next week after the Carolina game, everybody's expecting us to run over Atlanta. And I was in the spaces and I said, and I got cooked by in one of the spaces saying that hey, Atlanta is nobody to be trifling with. Like I liked Arthur Smith as a coach,
yeah,
and I thought that they were playing hard for him, and they were putting up points. I
yeah.
said, so don't think just because, and we got a lot of injuries right now. Don't think it's going to be an easy game. And
Uh-huh.
and man, oh man, they were just like, oh well, if they don't run over him, it's Kyle's just a terrible coach, and like all the how they get,
It's the
like
mentality, man.
yeah,
The
it's just
mentality. When I mean mentality, it's the mentality of the Falcons that I believe you saw was like, okay, it might not be a team that everybody notices, but if I watch them on film, they pop. And
yeah.
I think you have to just not look at the name and the names that you don't know of, for like the
Mm-hmm.
name Atlanta or who knows, or the names on the jersey. Nobody really knows those guys. And if you don't look at the tape and film and see, oh, they play hard, they hit hard, they play for their coach, and they have a philosophy that they're sticking to, we
Mm-hmm.
want to have some trouble because this is not the Panthers who are willing to fire Smith the next game. Like, no,
The
bro.
next day, and
the next like
trade Robbie Anderson.
the next day, like, or and put up what's Christian McCaffrey on the trading block.
Yeah,
Then like this is not that.
yeah.
They're doing a resale. They're trying to get one of these quarterbacks coming out of college. They're not, you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely can agree how you can have that stance and people come at that if they're not necessarily looking at the team that we're going to play against next week.
Yeah, and I still thought that I said before the game, I still thought the 49ers were going to win. Like I thought that they would come out with enough defense, and because I thought that our players were just better than theirs,
Mhm.
and I thought that they would come out. I thought they might have a little bit of momentum going into this game, and nope, we stopped all the momentum. No momentum. Like, but so who do you think that they need back as soon as possible?
Back, I can't even say that. I'm sorry. There was the inner child
No,
in me
no.
said something else, but I couldn't even
Yeah.
say that name. Um, Back soon as possible, and only on one person, only on the offensive defense. So you saying it doesn't matter
No, I don't think it matters. Like
on the offense?
just
One person.
a difference maker on this team that can kind of like that. This is a guy that we just need back, because we got a big game next week. But going forward, I think we need to, like, the name of the show is establishing an identity, and like we got some culture setters on this team that we're missing right now. And like, who do you think is the most important?
Oh man, see, I want to say either E Man or Chavar, like or Mooney, but E Man's out for the year.
Yeah, that for the year.
Um, and Mooney, I mean, I believe he can come back. Bosa, I love Bosa. I think Bosa is excellent. But if I'm being honest, it's like we only gave up 21 points on the defensive end. I'm like, bro, I'm looking at the offense like, look, I can't. I love defense. I can't continue to just tell the defense to just continue to shut these teams down. Like, y'all got to put up some points. So there's Trent Williams, I guess. Like, hey, Trent, come back then, my guy, because as a fan of the Niners, our identity has been the defense for so long that I'm looking at the offense like, when are y'all willing to pick up the torch and carry it for 3-4 weeks where y'all able to have 3 consecutive 30-point games? Like, is that too much to ask for as a Niner fan? Say, hey, offense, let's pick it up for 3 weeks and get 330 bombs. I seen the Lions give 3 consecutive weeks of 30 bombs, and we didn't even play. Like, if we being honest, none of the teams that we played, people look at as a top 10 team. So come on, offense. So Trent Williams, if you come back, my guy, can we put up 30 points for the next? No, I'm gonna just say for the next game. Let me not get
greedy. Don't get greedy. But I gotta go defense, because this is the reason why. We just finished talking about for almost an hour now about the offense and the inconsistencies with the offense. I can't be confident that if Trent Williams comes back, that it's going to be any different. Like it just all depends on Kyle. So I'm gonna say Mooney Ward. I'm gonna say Mooney Ward for me. Like he needs to come back, because even though they only gave up 21 points, I think he gives D'Amico a level of comfortability in what he calls. Like that's going to help this defense. So like I'm gonna like and maybe they keep instead of 21 points, they get 14 or 17. I don't know. Like but it just get because I don't feel like that is the injuries are the reason the offense is struggling, if that makes any sense.
But we have more injuries on the defense, though, man.
No, I get you. I got you. Like, but this is the thing. Like, I just finished talking about like the responsibility that they give Mooney Ward, and I think that's why he flourished so much this season. People weren't thinking of this guy like a shutdown corner before the season, but he's been able to flourish in the system because of that pass rush. And I still think that he can do that even with Bosa and them out. I think that they still could get the pressures if they could just get another second of coverage. So it's Mooney Ward for me. Like I just
Mooney, baby. Big up to
Mooney. Just to give Huff a break on the coverage side. So it's that's the way I look at it. But so can this defense be dominant again this season without, because we're not going to have Emmanuel Mosley again this season. So
but it depends on our health, man. Honestly, I mean, can we be dominant? Yes. Can we be healthy? Who knows? That's been the $1 million question. I mean, probably how much our salary cap? About $275 million per year. That's been the $70 million question for the last 4 years. It's like, if healthy, can we be dominant? There's no doubt in my mind that we can be. I trust D'Amico. Hold on. It was said in spaces.
Chris is defending his spaces. Like it's not that they wasn't it for me. It wasn't that they wasn't said. Like but there was a lot of people that were saying the opposite, and there were some people that were saying that Chris, you had to stop him a few times, like in the spaces. So
what is it? I wasn't on.
So we were talking that we had a space. There was a few spaces last week, and we were talking about Atlanta, and people were talking about how we just needed to run over them. And there was a couple of people that said that it was going to be a close game, but then a whole bunch of people came in and started saying, nah. Like they should just be destroying these. We should just be destroying these guys. And so like, I am not saying Chris, or there's a couple other people that I would say that weren't. They were pretty level headed with it. Like, but there was but you know how it gets in the spaces.
That
Like
one
there's
little 37 points that we scored against the Panthers had people out here bumping
they
their
gassed
gums.
up. Yeah, they had them gassed up,
Hey,
and like it is what it is.
was
Uh,
gassed up on water.
but yeah, it regardless,
Yeah.
we heard a lot of it all week, and we're here right now. We're talking about the loss, and it's I just we were talking about now I took off my train of thought, but like we were talking about the dominance of the defense,
Yeah.
and yeah, like so what were you saying about the about where how they can get back to where they were?
Yeah, it's just like you said. I kind of agree with Mooney Ward. I think him coming in will be a big help. I know Bosa, either him or Bosa, you know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it would be awesome if we could get, man, we only said one player though. Like if I can get two people, two like ancillary pieces to kind of help with the D-line depth, I think they'll kind of help as well, keep them fresh so that teams won't try to run on us as much as they did, because that's what they're going to see Kansas City or the next team. They're going to say, hey man, they're going to wear down, so continue to attack their defensive tackles, get in the middle, or get on the edge against those guys. But I think with another week, those guys getting repetition, the guys behind these guys getting more comfortable, knowing their assignments as well will help us out a lot. So bring back Mooney. Hopefully his groin is okay. That he doesn't have to do nothing too crazy. I think Demikio will have a little more. I think he got a little, I ain't gonna say comfortable, but he was doing well with what was working with him. And so now he has to change up some things when it comes to his play calling. And so this was the first week not having a lot of his pieces. So I think he probably said, okay, it was cool having all these other pieces, but now I got to adjust now. Now I got to play chess in a different manner. I got my I don't know if you play chess or whatnot. You play chess at all?
No, my wife does. Like she's trying to teach me, but like because my daughter right now is better than me.
Okay. Well, some of the pieces like the anyway, the knight or the rook, when you lose those pieces can do some wonderful things, and you got to adjust, what I'm saying, schematically how you're going to go about attacking. So I think I trust again the defense more so than I do the offense. And I think the Mickey Orions have had, like, even last year, shown the ability to adjust with the things that he do have to play with. Even this year, I think he still have more talent to adjust and play with this year. So just trust Mikio to do what he's doing. Continue
For
to,
sure.
even though we have the offensive genius on one side, here we go again, showing the confidence in the defensive coordinator in the defense with all the other pieces on the other side that I'm like, yeah, I get as many hall passes than anybody, but it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So we play in the Chiefs on Sunday. Big.
Oh Lord.
I mean, yeah. After watching that game last week, of course, makes you a little sick to your stomach, like thinking about what could happen. But I don't necessarily think, like, just because of just what I was talking about earlier, I don't think that it could be as bad as what we're thinking, because this, like I said, this team plays up and down to their competition. Happens all the time. It would not surprise me if they went in there, because I believe they're in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Like so it would not surprise me if they went in there and just took care of business. Not I think obviously I think it's going to be a close game, but it would not surprise me if they pulled out a victory in that game. And because Pat Mahomes doesn't have the huge amount of weapons that he used to. And now Pat Mahomes is a weapon in himself, like because of how good he is. But I think we've seen this season, and we saw it in the last game against the Bills, is that he can struggle at times finding guys to get guys getting open, and even it just makes it a little bit more difficult. They're not getting the same separation as when you have a Tyreek Hill just running free. And now Pat Mahomes is generational talent. Like I've seen him drop 40 on a team for like not even using Tyreek, but but how confident are you in the 49ers this week that they can get this win? And what's your score prediction?
I believe confidence-wise on scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 6. If I'm being honest, like a 6. Andy Reid record after a loss is ridiculous. With Patrick Mahomes, it's like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
They're very confident in their offense, like we are with our defense. You know what I'm saying? And so we gotta trust and believe that Andy's cooking right now, and he's seeing all the weaknesses that we do have. Though we don't have somebody like Tyreek Hill to worry about, they're thinking we don't have somebody like possibly a Travis Ward to worry about. We don't have a Emmanuel Mosley to worry about. We don't have a Jimmy Ward to worry about. It's a possibility we don't have an Armstead to worry about. No, so they're thinking like, all right, even though our offensive firepower is maybe dulled down a little bit, their defensive firepower is dulled down as well. And then our X factor, in his opinion, is going to say is a lot better than our X factor, which is Pat Mahomes. So like, I give our team the opportunity to win because hopefully Kyle can, is back there cooking up something that can continue to contend with the offense that the Kansas City Chiefs is going to bring at us. This is one of the games that I won't mind him playing, a time possession game.
Yeah.
This ain't the game
Absolutely.
we trying to have a shootout with, in my opinion. You should have did, should have used all your passing plays and deep pass plays last week. But this is the game that you want to make sure that you limit the touches of. I don't know. It depends on how you feeling, Kyle. If you want to feel froggy and go for it again, I mean, I have my popcorn ready, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have a good time. But I truly believe that we have to make a bounce back, I think it'll be a close game. I don't think we'll get blown out, especially at Levi Stadium. I think there's going to be a feel and a vibe at Levi Stadium leading up to this, mainly because of what they done to us in the Super Bowl. I think we still feel a little PTSD from that. And so that in itself should get us up and ready. I think D'Amico is mad of the performance that the defense went out there and showed. I think Kyle is questioning himself just a little bit, saying that, hey, man, I can't be out here giving up 14 points per game. And I think he's telling his wide receivers, you can't be dropping balls when I scheme this play open. You can't be dropping passes on this deep ball when we know the world's saying that we don't throw the ball deep and Jimmy put it on the money. Hey, we can't be doing this. So I'm going to need y'all to not definitely do it against the Kansas City Chiefs, because that instead of being 28, it'll be 48. So I think the Niners, I'm going to always go for our squad regardless. We only put up 14 points. Let's say 27-24.
Okay.
27-24.
You think we're gonna score? You think we're gonna score 27? Huh?
We have to. We averaged 18 to 19 per points per game throughout the year. I mean, listen, we got to put up some buckets. If you can't put up, I remember last year in the playoffs, it's like, bro, if we would just score 24 points per game in the playoff, we would have won the Super Bowl. That's how good our defense was.
So, and I'm never gonna predict against the 49ers. Like, I'm just, because I honestly think that we have the best roster in football. Like, I really do. And on any given Sunday, I think we can beat anybody. Like, so I'm always going to go for the 49ers. I think that they somehow pull this game out 2017. And I don't know how they're going to do it. Because I don't know what the game plan is going to be. And it's just impossible to predict what the game plan is going to be. But I think that they have the players that put matchup problems all over KC's defense. There's matchup problems everywhere. But on the defensive side, I think that the Bills showed they had a bunch of injuries too. But they got some key performances from backups.
Yeah.
And so it can be done. It can be done. It's just and I got all the faith in the world in D'Amico that he can scheme it up. So
we need two though. We need two turnovers.
Touchdowns? Oh, two turnovers.
No. We need 2 turnovers either at midfield or between like the 35 and the 50 of the opposing team. Like, we need to get at least 2 turnovers, man, so we can at least kick a field goal and get some easy points.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna probably have to be a fumble because our guys don't pick off the ball that often.
And I was
Like,
thinking about that, like a strip or something, or like catch somebody, because right now we're -2 in the
yeah,
turnover department differential right now,
differential, yeah,
and that's bad, man. Like
yeah,
we that's too tight. We again, our margin for error is literally razor thin, and so uh we need 2 turnovers, man. Somebody got to get a come on, man, strip fumble.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't expect that that's gonna happen every game. But now, I shouldn't say that. We're gonna be positive. We're gonna be. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, god doggy.
Yeah,
Y'all
we gonna
get
happen. We gonna get 3.
it's a must.
Like, yeah,
Hey,
we
need
gonna
like,
make it happen.
hey, let somebody how on our team, Ray McLeod, sometimes they fumble the punt on the punt, they catch the punt, they may fumble or kick return. Our guys may fumble or something like that. Like, dude, you remember the Bengals game last year where the guy who he just couldn't catch the ball, the tight end, every time he caught the ball, he was fumbling the ball against the Bengals last
Oh
year.
yeah.
And like, we need one of those games where somebody just got butterfingers, man, and something happened to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need one of those games to kind of help us to go forth and come on defense. But I'm still gonna tell Kyle, hey, you need to give us 24 points, my guy. At least 24.
Yeah, that's, man, I would love to see it. I would love to see it to just give myself some faith in this offense. But hey, Twin, I really loved having you on today. You're gonna have
Yes,
to come
sir.
back. You're gonna have to come back at some point. I thought this was a great show. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Like, great comments out there, Chris and Eddie and Damien, all the guys that came. Chris, the other Chris Polo came in. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for getting active in the chat. One more time, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the socials before we get out of here?
Yes. What's up, man? Again, thank you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure y'all like, comment below, man. Give us your thoughts as well. Share the content, man. Big ups to Peter. Make sure you follow and subscribe to his channel. We continue to try to push out this wonderful work, this wonderful content, man. At the end of the day, we're wonderful men that love football. We love the Niners. Having the opportunity to break from our family just to, give ourselves a little time to decompress, man, and leave all the other responsibilities alone, man, and have a good time and talk about the one of the sports that we love. So, man, you can find me at Twin Empire, man. You see the handle right there. Just hit me up, man. Make sure you follow your boy on Twitter and also on YouTube as well, man. Check out my channel. I'll make sure I give it to Chris. I mean, not Chris, but to Peter, man, and put it in the probably underneath the description.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
you guys can follow me on my YouTube as well. Twin Empire as well on there. And yeah, man, just hit me up. And I'll be sure to hit you back up, man. And again, I just love talking football, man. And ain't nothing like them Niners,
Yeah, no, I loved having you. It was a great show. And yeah, once again, thank you guys for tuning in today. You can always find, of course, you're probably watching this on YouTube or Twitter. I'm also broadcasting to Facebook. Also, then I do the I chop up the parts of the show. I put it on TikTok, Instagram. I'm onto Instagram. I'm on and you can find the audio version anywhere where you get your audio podcast. So if you can't, it doesn't matter where you get it, just get it.
Just get it. Come get that work.
So,
you know what I mean?
But we always leave the show with one thing, and that's go Niners.
Yes. Go Niners. Let's get it.
Absolutely.